The Chinese Tiangong Space Station is undeniably one of the most remarkable feats achieved by the entire human race. It is by far the most advanced spacecraft that has ever been made, and its sole existence allows us to take a glimpse at how the future of humanity will look like. Unfortunately, this orbital magnificence simply isn't talked about enough. Its significance remains largely unnoticed by the rest of the world. Today, we'll look at the Tiangong Space Station, and we'll uncover how China reinvented space stations. To fully comprehend its significance, we'll have to answer the question, what is the Tiangong Space Station? The Tiangong Space Station is China's first ever long-term permanently crewed space station. It's located in low Earth orbit at an altitude range between 340 and 450 kilometers, or 280 miles, above the planet's surface. Its usual orbital altitude is 389.1 kilometers, which is around 242 miles. It's, in essence, very similar to the International Space Station when it comes down to design and function. It consists of 3 separate modules that form a very characteristic T shape. It's around 55 meters long and has a diameter of around 39 meters, which might sound like a lot, but in all actuality, it's relatively compact for a permanent crew space station. To put it in perspective, the Tiangong Space Station is 15 meters shorter and 15 meters narrower than a Boeing 747. Furthermore, comparing its overall pressurized volume, we can see that the Tiangong Space Station is only 1/3 of the ISS's size. It has a maximum crew capacity of only 6 members, and out of those 6, only 3 are counted as regular crew members. The other 3 are allowed aboard only during expeditions. Despite not seeming impressive at first glance, the Tiangong Space Station's development process shows us how impressive the achievement is. So let's therefore answer the question, how did the Tiangong Space Station come to be? The Tiangong Space Station is part of the Tiangong program, which itself is a part of the China Manned Space Program. The CMSP has been active for 31 years straight, and it began way back in 1992. When it comes down to the Tiangong program, it has been officially active since the mid-2000s. It's been described as one of the most important Chinese space projects of the past 2 decades. The fruits of the project were first uncovered way back in 2011 with the release of the Tiangong-1. The space station was China's first attempt at creating a long-term space station. Due to technological limitations and lack of experience, the Tiangong-1 was unfortunately just an experimental prototype with no real function, apart from being a testbed for orbital rendezvous and docking capabilities. That said, Tiangong-1 managed to stay in service for 6 years, after which the propulsion module was directed to enter atmosphere, which led to it being decommissioned. In 2016, the second prototype, dubbed Tiangong-2, was launched. It was also a prototype, however, it was far more advanced than the first model. For starters, unlike the Tiangong-1, the new version could provide life support for crew members for extensive periods of time, allowing much longer stays. As such, it was the ideal testing ground for a permanent crew space station, which was the Tiangong Space Station that's currently in use. The Tiangong-2's service life ended only 3 years after it was initially launched. The Tiangong Space Station, which has been launched in 2021, is the 3rd overall Chinese space station ever built, and unlike the previous 2, the new space station is here to stay for years to come. It's been built on previously acquired experience, and it utilizes countless technological solutions from its predecessors. The development of the Tiangong Space Station is truly impressive, as it shows China's sheer willingness and determination towards creating one of the most radical space stations in existence. Speaking of its radicality, it's time to answer the question, what makes the Tiangong Space Station so revolutionary? Albeit the Tiangong Space Station doesn't have the volume of the ISS, it most definitely offers considerably more utility, despite being so compact. How? Well, that's because the Tiangong Space Station has been developed as a completely modular space station. You remember the 3 modules that make the characteristic T shape? Well, those modules have not been launched all at once. Instead, China launched them one by one. The first one was the Tianhe module, which was launched in April 2021. It's the beating heart of the Tiangong Space Station, and it acts as the core command module. The Tianhe module can be separated into 3 main sections. The wider end of the module is the working area, with 3 experimental racks. There's also a docking port that has been designed as the port for the Chinese Space Telescope, which is currently in development and is said to have similar or marginally better capabilities than the venerable Hubble Space Telescope. The middle of the module is reserved for the crew quarters, and it includes beds for 3 crew members as well as a toilet. At the smaller end, we can see a spherical multi-docking node with 4 different ports, one of which is logically permanently attached to the Tianhe itself. The one that's opposite to it is the main docking port of the entire space station. The ones found on the left and right are the berthing ports for the second and third module. The second module was the Wentian module, which was launched and merged to the Tianhe module back in July 2022 and serves as both the living quarters and the research lab of the Tiangong Space Station. It also houses the airlock of the space station. It allows for an additional 3 crew members to reside on the space station. Furthermore, it also houses 2 giant solar panels, which are the absolute pièce de résistance of the solar technology. They are extremely flexible and thin, which maximizes their efficiency, granting the Tiangong up to 7 kilowatts of electricity. The Wentian will also have its own airlock, which will be the primary way of going for spacewalks. The Mengtian module is identical to the Wentian module, design-wise. However, it's exclusively a research and space experiment module. Furthermore, it will also have its own airlock, which will be Tiangong's second cargo dock. Not to mention that its solar array, which is identical to the one found on the Wentian, allowed the space station to be fully energized and granted its full functionality. It joined the Tiangong Space Station 5 months after the Wentian, in November 2022. The 3 modules are, at the time of the release of the video, the only ones that have been combined. However, it goes without saying that China plans on massively expanding the space station further down the line. Granted, the ISS has also been designed as a modular station. However, its modules are considerably shorter, with more connected points required in between them, which therefore bottlenecks the entire structure. For the sake of comparison, the ISS Destiny Lab is only 8.4 meters long, which is nearly 10 meters less than the Mengtian and the Wentian modules. Furthermore, due to it being considerably more modern than the ISS, the Tiangong Space Station utilizes considerably more modern technology. This allows the Tiangong to be considerably better in terms of space efficiency and general utility. Looking at the inside will show us just how advanced the Chinese space station is in all actuality. Every piece of equipment is considerably more compact than the equivalent found in the ISS, which allows the Tiangong to be considerably more spacious on the inside, despite being more compact from the outside. Furthermore, virtually everything that requires human input or command has been made to function and connect completely wirelessly. This considerably simplifies the systems themselves, as it means that there will be much less wiring all over the place. Furthermore, it also allows them to be much more intuitive and much easier to access. Not to mention that by removing a huge portion of the wiring and replacing it with completely wireless and portable utilities, the space inside of the Tiangong will have been expanded even more. Why did China decide to make the Tiangong Space Station? Well, believe it or not, China has been banned from the International Space Station, which is their primary motive behind the rapid creation of the modular Tiangong Space Station. You see, back in 2011, China has been banned from the ISS thanks to the urgency of the United States. The US were very vocal about the Chinese space program being a threat to the country's national security, which is why they kept applying pressure on the Space Congress to pass a law which would prohibit Chinese astronauts from residing on the ISS. The US and China have been both known to spy on one another. The law, now known as the Wolf Amendment, was eventually passed, and as a result, China was kicked out from the ISS, which in turn turned out to be quite a problem for the US. Why? Well, first, because the accent that China put on the development of their own space station became a much higher priority than before. And second, because China started investing enormous sums of money in their space exploration program. 2 years after China was kicked out of the ISS, the Shenzhou 10 mission was announced. Its main objective was to ferry the crew and the materials to the Tiangong 1 and show off to the world how quickly China managed to develop a semi-operational rival to the ISS. All in all, China has truly showed the world that pure cussedness and intuitive thinking can lead you far in this world, and, well, out of it too, as it seems.